All right, Psalm 76, let's call this one For Fear. In the psalm that starts off in verses 1 through 3, God is known in Judah. He is great in Israel. His abode is in Salem, or Shalom, I think, which is a word for peace. His dwelling is on Zion. There he broke the arrows, the shield, the sword, and the weapons of war, as it will go on in verses 4 through 9 to say that he is glorious and majestic, and even the stout-hearted, the men of war, the rider and horse are wise to bounce back in his presence, understanding that multiple times before the end of the chapter, it's going to go on to give us reason to understand why God is to be feared, as it's going to go on in this set of verses 4 through 9 to say, but you are to be feared because who can stand against you, and especially you in your anger, understanding that your judgments are enough to make the earth itself tremble. It's going to go on in verses 10 through 12 to say, surely the wrath of man is simply an ornament to God, who stands above our ability and our greatest temper tantrums, as he is going to go on to say. Make your vows to God, but don't just vow to God, but be careful to perform them to him who is, once again, to be feared, who cuts off the spirit of princes, and who is to be feared by the earth's kings. In this chapter, that reminded me of two things: that just as alcohol can be intoxicating, so can power. And so in this chapter, where he is reminding us multiple times that God breaks the weapons of war, he's helping us to remember that we can become overconfident in the power that we have, whether it's in weapons of war or just our ability or clout in a certain situation. But that power and clout can be intoxicating, because ultimately God is going to hold us accountable for how we use it. Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter, is going to say it. I lied. Chapter 5, verse 8 is going to say, if you see in a province the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed at the matter, for the high official is watched by a higher, and there are yet higher ones over them. On Sunday, we mentioned the way in which the first 12 chapters of Isaiah are condemnations against Israel for sins they had committed, in particular Judah. However, the next few chapters are condemnations on those nations God used to discipline Israel or Judah in the way in which they went too far. And so much like we said that alcohol can be intoxicating, power can be even more so, a theme that we have seen before that we are revisiting once again here in Psalm 76, which is why we sometimes say God's best to you as you go forward in him. This time, as the commercial says, drinking responsibly, not so much drink, but drinking the power, the authority, the clout, the influence, whatever God has given you, in a way that will not actually attract his judgment, and even worse, his condemnation.